All right, let's jump right in. So welcome everybody to today's Ed to Ed webinar. This is the last one of the series. I can't believe how quick that has gone. And that date is definitely wrong down there. It's meant to say September. So today's today's presentation, we've got creating simple but effective interactive activities suitable for Smart Notebook and Smart Learning Suite online. My name is Kendall Havenstein and I will be today's co-host supporting the presenter in the background. I am the Marketing and Operations Manager for Smart Australia New Zealand. I'm going to go through a few housekeeping slides and then I am going to pass it over to today's presenter. Okay, so moving on. So with your control panel, if you would like to shrink it if it's in your way, just click on that white orange arrow and it will click down to this size here. And then if you want to pop it back out, just click on the arrow again. So we will have a short question and answer segment at the end of the webinar where you'll be able to ask the presenter questions directly. So there's two ways to do that. You can raise your hand to come off mute, or you can type the questions into the question panel and I can read them out to the presenter for you. So if there is any questions throughout, please just type them into the question panel and I'll do my best to answer them straight away, especially if there's any technical difficulties. I will be here to help you out with anything like that. If you do have a question about the presentation that pops into your mind throughout, just please pop it into the question panel still, or type it into the question panel still, and I will save it up to the end if I can't answer it straight away. So you can earn a general certificate of completion for this webinar if you log into training.smarttech.com and then click on the Learn More and the certification blue box in the middle there down the bottom, and then navigate to this webinar. So once you click on Learn More, sorry, I'll just go back a bit. Once you click on Learn More, it'll pop out to all of our webinars. I think we've got about 55 in there at the moment. So if you just navigate to this one, it's laid out pretty well, so you'll be able to find it fairly easy, even though there is 55 in there. If you just navigate to the end of the webinar, click on the Mark Complete button, Mark Complete square, and then it'll automatically generate you a PDF certificate with your name on it. So for teachers, educators listening in who are in New South Wales, you can now earn a NESA accreditation 1 hour for this webinar. So at the end of the webinar, there'll be a survey. When I close it off, I'll do a quick close off, and then the survey will automatically pop up on your screens. So if you just complete this survey, you need your NESA number handy, and please be aware that as a part of this course, you are required to complete the following first 3 expectations in order to be awarded your NESA hours. So number 1, engage meaningfully with the webinar. By being an active participant, the presenter will call on you to complete 1 or 2 of the following to demonstrate your engagement: contribute to the chat, complete a poll, or complete an activity. And then the second expectation is to further show that you meaningfully engaged with the content in the webinar, you will need to comprehensively complete the first 3 questions of the survey that is sent out at the end of this webinar. The additional questions in the survey don't relate to your NESA hours. However, we would greatly appreciate it if you could fill them in so we can contribute to improve our webinars for next term and beyond. So thank you for your cooperation with that. So for today's presenter, I'd like to introduce Lindsey Davis. Lindsey's Head of Learning and Support at Amenity College currently. She's a high school maths teacher for year 5, a training manager for Teacher PD for an audiovisual technology supplier for 4 years now, education officer for the York Archaeological Trusts and Museums for 5 years, and a mum of an 18-year-old who you may hear in the background, but he has been pretty silent so far. So I think he's being well behaved today there, Lindsey. And you will need a Hello Smart browser open. So if you would like to go ahead and open that up, ready for Lindsey's presentation, and then her number there is 914351. It's 914351, and I'm sure Lindsey will repeat that again for us. But if you would like to get into contact with Lindsey, her contact details are just under her profile photo there. You've got Lindsey Davis at integrateav.com.au, and then she's got 2 social media handles there, smart_tech and @smartpln. Yes. Okay, without further ado, I'd hand it over to Lindsey. Thanks a lot, Lindsey.
Hello everyone, I'm just checking you can all hear me. If you just raise a hand in the chat section, I should be able to check. That's wonderful. Okie doke, so I'm just going to share my screen once I get the controls. Here we are. Okay. Wonderful. So yeah, so as Kendall said, I am actually head of learning support at Amity College. I look after mostly the girls' high school, and I specialise in numeracy. I have been a high school maths teacher for 5 years prior, both in the UK and in Australia. And I've also worked for audiovisual technologies as the training manager specifically for teachers in how to use their technologies. But the irony is I started out doing history, worked in education at the York Archaeological Trust museums where there was no technology of any kind apart from medieval and Viking and Roman archaeology and technology there. So I remember my first day teaching at my first placement school, I had a projector and a smart board and I had no idea how to turn it on. And then over the years, taught myself how to use Smart Notebook and just I absolutely love it. I love what it can do for the students as well. And I'm still a diehard fan all this time later. So what I want to do today is to show you some fun ways that you can create really simple activities that work well both on your smart board and on Smart Learning Suite Online if you are using that in your classrooms as well. They work well for distance learning, so if we have any teachers from Victoria or anywhere that is still needing to do remote learning, these kind of activities work really well for that as well. So the first poll, I believe, Kendall, are you okay to run that for me?
Yeah, sure, I will just push that out right now.
Thank you. So I'm just keen to know how many of you are actually already using the Smart Learning Suite Online. Do you have your accounts? Here we go. And then I can see those results. Fantastic. So we do have some people who've said no, and we've got quite a few people who are saying yes. Wonderful. So what I suggest is if you have the ability to have Smart Notebook open next to you or next to this screen, what the idea behind this presentation will be. There we go. Am I all right to still to share my screen again? Thank you, Colonel. Thanks. Here we go. So basically the purpose that I'm going to go through, I want to, it's going to be a very hands-on session. So I will give you the opportunity to create your own templates and have a go as we go through. Okay. And each of these activities are designed for multi-touch panels. So if you've got a Mac connected to your panel and it can only be single touch, that doesn't matter, you can still use it, but you can have multiple students accessing these activities on the same device if needed. Okay, so I highly recommend having Smart Notebook open as we go through if you want to have a go at creating these activities at the same time as me. Alternatively, I believe that you will be getting sent a copy of these slides as a notebook file because I've created a few templates on here already for you, and then you can just save those and add them to your lessons as you see fit. Okay. Right, so what we're going to cover is some of this may already be familiar to you, but if not, these are the kinds of skills that are required for creating these very simple activities. So I'm going to go through each of the different skill sets and show you how that can be used to create a simple activity. And as we go through, you'll see that they start to, like, if we're locking objects in place, for example, or using different text and object colors, grouping and ordering objects, you can do activities with grouping objects, but then you can also do really good activities with ordering and grouping and using the text and locking in specific ways. So we kind of build up as we go. And just in case, we'll make sure we have a spot for saving your file if you're doing it at the same time, and then how it will look if you're using Smart Learning Suite Online as well. Okay, so locking objects in place. So classic examples of activities that you can do on your smart boards are where you can have drag and drop activities. Believe it or not, even with my high school students, I love doing digital puppets. So things like having moving objects on here, but what you don't want to happen is for the background to move. So what we will need to do is we would lock that in place and then keep the things that we want moving around free to do so. Okay, so I'm just going to show you on this rectangle here. That would be my son in the background. He gets very excited when he can hear people talking. When you have your object, okay, applying it to anything. Thank you, Oliver. Then you can either right click, you can click on the little down arrow, and you can go to your lock options. Now, you can have the option to lock in place, which I've done with this image here, but you also have the option to allow specific movement. So for example, if I allow vertical movement from the position that it's in, it won't go side to side at all. It will only go up and down. I can't move it side to side at all. So you can use that to your advantage for some activities as well. So let me show you an activity that I use quite a bit. So with this one, particularly with literacy activities. So you'll see that all I've done is I've changed the background and I've just copied and pasted the text that I want to use from whatever activity I'm doing. This block, this rectangle, okay, it's locked so that it won't move side to side or just randomly around the screen. It will only move up and down. And then what I've also done is I've included boxes that have a clear fill and the same color outline as the background. I actually tried to make it slightly lighter so that from this presentation you'd be able to see which of the boxes I've used. And then basically the text there gives you the instructions on how to create this activity. But having this presentation file, you'll be able to just change the text, change the boxes, and use that locking technique to create things that actually work really well. So you can identify things after you've had a chance to have a chat with the students about what they need to identify first. So in order to do that, like I said, I locked the text in place, so that can't move around at all. I locked my boxes in place, so they can't move around at all. And for this one, I locked it, but I allowed vertical movement. Okay, so please feel free to use that activity. In terms of undoing the locking, you can simply right click on it again and click unlock, and that will allow it to now free move however you wish. Okay, so hopefully that activity will be of benefit to some of you, but following the instructions on there will give you exactly how to do that. I didn't want to go into creating this this activity completely because I don't think we've got the time for it. Okay, so on the next one, using text and object colors creatively, you can actually have a lot of fun with this. You'll see here I have an anagram. I'm not going to ask you to guess what it is, but basically, if I move it up on the screen, you'll see that it changes to the word that I want it to say. Obviously, it doesn't actually change. If I just bring this over here, you'll see that it is a text box, and I have put the anagram in the same color as the top box, and I've put the correct word in the same color as the bottom box. So if you want to have a go with me, I'll show you exactly how to create this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rectangle first. That could be my bottom box there. Okay. I'm then going to just duplicate this one. I use Control D when I've highlighted it, but you can right click and duplicate as well. There we are. So I'm just going to make sure that they're the same size, and I'm going to change the color of that one. So let's have that one as like a light yellow. There we go. And then I want to lock both of these in place. So like with the previous activity, I can right click on both of them individually, or when I'm in my cursor mode, I can click and drag over both objects, right click, and I can lock and lock in place. So now both of those can't move. So now I'm going to include my text box, I'll do it in giant letters so you can see for now, and then I'll shrink them. And I'm going to use the same one again. I've got answer, and then I can jumble up the letters underneath. Make sure I've got all the letters in there. Okay. And then the answer word needs to be the same colour as the bottom box, which was this recent colours mint green. And the anagram needs to be the same colour as the top box, which was my recent colour of that sort of light yellow. So now you can see that box there. If I go back to my cursor, if I bring it down into just the green box, I can have my anagrams waiting there, and then students can say out loud if they can recognise the word, and then they can drag it up onto the main screen there. So I use this a lot as a starter activity. This is a pretty standard one of my lessons to begin with. So they'll have written down the learning outcomes and the keywords, and also looking back at the keywords from previous lessons if it's still part of the same unit. And then if I'm in the classroom and I'm wanting them to do it on the board, I can ask one of my students to facilitate. They can select a student to say which word they can identify, and then they can come up to the screen, click and just point and drag, and it'll drag up to the screen and look like it has changed. And they're fascinated by it, but it's clearly a very simple activity. Once you've created a template like this, all you need to do is just change the words each time, and it's pretty simple and very quick. Okay, and like I say, you can use this template as well if you wish. Okay, so let's just move on to grouping our objects. So this is little Mia. I've actually grouped her name with an image, so that if I wanted to have this kind of activity where I can have images and text, or images and other images where I want them to be moved together, I can group them to do so. I like to do sort of, I suppose, like a welcome screen when my students come in and they can drag themselves onto something, or they can drag emotions to themselves, or something like that, where it's just like a very quick check-in before they come and sit down. This was especially useful when I was doing remote learning, so that I could see who was present, who was moving their characters around. It was very handy and quite cute, and they expected it as well. They liked the personal touch to it. So in order to do it, I'll do Effie first. So here's my Effie character and her name. If I just put those two together, how I want them, and still in my cursor mode, I'm going to click and drag over both of those, and then I can right click and I can press group, and then there we are, and now they will move together. If you are like me and you want to use keyboard shortcuts, I'm going to just do this on Oliver. So I'm going to click and drag over both of the things that I want to group together, and if you press Control G, it will group them. So you can actually do multiple things all at the same time there. And now they can move freely, or I can lock them, whatever I want to happen with those. Okay. So if you are doing this alongside me, if you want to, in Smart Notebook, if you want to open or add an object and another object and just have a quick go at grouping those objects together, again, this is a nice opportunity to do that. And I will show you here some of the activities that work really well with this one. So this one's actually sized for Smart Learning Suite Online. So I'm just going to show you it from the full page. There we are. So this was one that I used when we were working remotely. I would ask the students to sign on to Hello Smart, and I was on Smart Learning Suite Online. And then I would have my students, I would actually name the classes that I had, so all my student names were there. And I would set this up as a whole class workspace, so that they all had access to move their characters around. It was a bit of fun, like some of them were trying to move different people and, and things like that, having a bit of fun, but, he can be as strict with that as he like. And basically they just come in and they just move their little student onto the screen, so that people in my class were then all available. Okay, so feel free to use this one, even just in the classrooms. That's now quite cute. Okay, and if you don't have each of these characters, of course, you can delete some of them and duplicate others to suit your students and your class. Okay. Right, ordering objects. I'm just going to go back to my page width so you can see these a bit clearer. Again, this one I'm hoping is good for quite a few different subject areas and year groups, but students either on their iPads or computers or in the classroom using the panel can come and lift up the little Mario from behind the pipe and reveal an answer. And you could have several pipes on the screen, or obviously anything you like. For some reason, my year 10s really liked pulling rabbits out of hats. 15, 16-year-olds can't really understand what they're going to enjoy. So whatever works. There we are. So what I've done here is I've locked the pipe and I've grouped my answer and my Mario. And then I've ordered the objects so that Mario is behind the pipe. So to show you how to do that, I'm just going to show you that at the moment, these are all in different orders, so it's not going to work as is. And then whenever you group something, it actually brings it to the front. So even if you sort of locked your pipe in place now and things like that, it still wouldn't be ready. And it wouldn't be in the right order for this activity to work. So the order that works the best, if you do your grouping first. So I've got these, I'm going to right click and I'm going to group. There we are. So now my Mario and my answer moves, but you'll notice, oh, in this one it does work. Oh well. Sometimes it'll stay on top of the pipe. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double check and show you how to do this anyway. So if I right click and go to order, I've obviously got a few options to bring to the front, send to the back, etc. Whatever object you want to be the one that hides your other objects needs to be brought to the front. Okay, and then you also don't want that to move. So as in our previous activities for locking in place, I'm going to right click, go to lock, and I want it to lock in place. I don't want it to move at all. So now I can just move my little Mario behind. There we are. And now my students can pull him up and reveal. This works best. I'm just going to unlock this one so that you can see. And I'll do it on here so you can see. See the blue dashed line around the edge? That's the edge of the image. So that works best if the edge of the image is as close as possible to, say, the top of a hat or the top of this pipe. Because if I put Mario behind it, if I put him all the way down like this, the students won't be able to grab him, or not very easily anyway, because the top of that image is not the very top of the line. It is actually, you know, like a couple of millimeters above it. So these work best if you've got it really close to the top of the actual object that you want to hide the character behind. And then with your characters, it works best if you've got something like this with a hand above. The rabbits work very well if you've got rabbits with pointy ears up. Then the students can they look like they're grabbing the ears as they move it out of the hat, etc. So anything where it's got something that kind of sticks up works really well. There we go. So I'm sure this will get you thinking with lots of different ideas that you can use for sort of ordering the objects and making it look like they're sort of pulling things out from behind something else. It does work really, really well, particularly for identifying answers and things like that. This is one that I use quite a bit. So this contains quite a few of the different techniques that I've just shown you. And we can have a go at making this activity. So just to show you, the idea behind this activity is the students can move the torch to reveal the answers. So it could be keywords, it could be anything. I mean, I use it obviously in maths. I'll have my maths questions and then I'll have the answers next to it. And you can have more than one torch. But also I get the standard question, Miss, is this right? And I don't have time to help all of the students in the class and answer that and check their understanding for them. So I would have this on the screen, or have it sent to their devices as a student handout. And then they have that next to them so they can do their questions and then they can check their answers, and do it that way. But that, again, that takes a little bit of training so that they're not cheating, but it makes them, it frees you up to be around the classroom and supporting people that need it as well. Let me show you how I did this one. So I'm just going to open a new page. Here we are. Now I quite like these torch or magnifying glass reveals. They're really quite fun. So I'm going to change the background, set the background fill. I changed it to black. There we are. And then I'm going to add my torch image. So I actually have this as a clip art object. I've got all of them ready because I use them so much. Okay, this one. I'll copy this one in. Yep, it's thinking about it. Coming. Alternative, I can use something else. Certainly thinking about it. Ah, there we go. Okay, I will insert it properly. There we are. Okay, so I'm just going to shrink it down. There we are. Now you'll notice that it doesn't have the big beam of light that I want to reveal my answers. So to do that, I'm going to use an object and I'm going to use a triangle. And I want it to be like a light yellow color, so it looks like a beam of light. And I'm just going to get my beam of light, like that nice big beam. Okay. And then with my cursor, I'm just going to rotate it. There we are. And just try and make sure that it kind of lines up. Right, so this just takes a little bit of jiggery pokery. There we are. That'll do. And then of course I'm going to layer it so that it goes behind the torch. So I'm going to order and I'm going to send it to the back. There we go. So you can see that I've got my my torch and my beam of light. And now I need to group them together so that they move together. And here we are. I'm going to go over those. Control G, or I can right click and group, and now they're going to move around together. Wonderful. So I'm going to leave that just there. And then in order to do the text, like in our previous activity, the question needs to be visible and the answer needs to be invisible. So the answer needs to be the same color as the background and the question needs to be a different color. So with the black background, you can have some really nice, quite bright colors, which look really good. So I'm going to just type out my question. There we are. And then my answer, so that I can see it. But then I can hide my answer or make it invisible by highlighting it and changing it to the same color as the background, which in this case is black. There we are. And I'm just going to move it around. So I don't want that to move, but I do want it to be at the front. So in terms of my ordering, I'm just going to right click, order it, and make sure it is at the front, because I can't, the only option I have is to send it to the back. So it's already at the front. But otherwise I would be able to make sure all of those were at the front. I'm now going to lock it in place. So there's my lock in place. Now I can move my torch and it will reveal the answer. There we are. So like I say, you have access to all of these templates anyway, but I just wanted to show you how simple that is to create, and then you can use it for multiple things. It can be a nice activity during a lesson, it can be a nice starter or plenary, really versatile and works really well on Smart Learning Suite Online as well. Okay. Right, so just triple checking, if you have been creating these at the same time as me, then it's a good opportunity to save your file now. And of course, when you're working with Smart Notebook, you can save it locally, but you can also save it in your Smart Learning Suite online. So some of you said that you didn't have Smart Learning Suite accounts yet, and you're using a free or basic version of Smart Notebook. All of these activities can be created using the basic version, 19.1 if that's the one that you're using. I think 20 is coming out soon. And in which case, that's absolutely fine. You can use it on your panels, no problem at all. The Smart Learning Suite Online allows you to access it on any computer anywhere. You do need an internet connection, but you can have it on your personal devices, on other computers, in other classrooms, in other schools. And you can also push things out to student devices. So if your class has their own device or iPads that you can book, it works very well on there, and you don't have to have specific apps or anything like that for them to use. They simply go to a browser and connect with your activities. So we're going to have a go at that so that you can see what it's like to be a student connecting with some of these activities. So let me just pop, I'm going to go to my Smart Learning Suite Online. So I've actually already got myself ready for it, but basically all you would do is go to the Smart website, Smart Tech, it's always the top one, and you would go to sign in. So this is where you would need an account, and you'd go to the Smart Learning Suite Online and use your credentials to log in. If you're a New South Wales Department of Education teacher, you will need to use your Google, so that's your @education.nsw.edu email address, rather than your current, than your standard one, okay, to create licenses. And then what you can do when you're in here is whenever you click Add Activity, you can import your existing resources and use them straight away in there, but there are also lots of other activities that you can do, which will be in other webinars. I've added this one already, so I'm going to click Start. Here we are, and I'm just going to go to some of the activities so we can have a go. Here we are. So in this case, I'm just going to ask for people to join me. So if you can go to hellosmart.com, so basically if you go to your URL and you're in another browser or in another tab, and just type in hellosmart.com, and then the class ID is 31152. Is that okay, Kendall? I don't have the one that you gave me.
The one I read the one out on your profile slide.
Yes.
I see. Is that what you? Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fine. Oh, good.
Thank
we
you.
just have to get everybody to log back out and log into that one.
Yep. Or if you haven't already, this one. Even if you don't have a Smart Learning Suite account, everyone who's joined the webinar today will be able to connect. So if you go to hellosmart.com, and then it will ask you to join. And the class ID is 31152. Kendall, are you all right to just pop that in the chat just in case people can't see both screens at the same time? Thank you.
Yes, I'll pop that in the chat, not a problem.
Excellent. I've got 5 students connecting. That's wonderful. I'm not actually sure how many people we have in the session to know how many people are going to be connecting.
We've got 17 people attending today.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
So don't worry too much, let's say, if you can't get in, but it would be nice if you can have a go and see what it looks like from a student perspective on your browser. And then, of course, to see the teacher perspective, you can have a look in the webinar, and you'll see my screen, which would be what you would see on the teaching device. So I actually use this quite a bit in the classroom. for different activities, because it makes sure that every student can take part rather than just one or two going up to the screen. But sometimes I like to still do that and get them up out of their seats. Depends on the year group. Wonderful, I've got 6 connected. If you're having any difficulties, please feel free to put the questions in and Kendall can help. Kendall, if there's anything I can help with, let me know if anybody's having any difficulties.
Will do. I'll monitor the questions in the chat.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the got it here so that those of you that are wanting to just observe can do. So I can see my 7 students here if I click on my classroom, and I can hand over to student lessons. I can create individual handouts. So if I clicked on individual handout, that would send it to each of you as your own personal copy. So it wouldn't be, you know, you could do it yourselves, or maybe I can have it in pairs and they can be doing it together, or I can send it out as a collaborative workspace. So I am going to send this one out as a collaborative workspace activity. So now it'll come on your device. I'm not going to have any teams. I'm just going to have everyone on the same team for this activity. There we are. So you'll find now that you can move those words around, and all of you can move the words. So it can get a bit chaotic, but it's quite fun. So you can see how that one's working. There you go. So particularly for our Victoria teachers, this is quite a nice activity to start off your remote lessons, but it's still great in the classroom as well. If I've got any teachers who are working with special ed or younger years where you don't want them coming up to the screen in some instances, they can still interact with this, and you can have students on the actual board as well, and they can be doing it from their own device elsewhere. Okay, fantastic. Right, so that one was that activity. I want to just look at some of the others and how they work. So let's just demonstrate this one. We'll just wait a moment for the students to populate themselves. There we go. And of course, if I just go onto my little people, I can choose how I want to do this. So I could have preset this up and just had my collaborative workspaces ready to go and my handouts ready to go, but I wanted to show you the screens so you can see that you can do it on the fly if you want to. So I'll do this one as a collaborative workspace as well, so everyone can access the same screen, and it's non-competitive. Okay. There we are. So you'll find if you want to pick a couple of students, move yourselves into the webinar. Fantastic. And again, this one's quite nice. If you have like little emojis or sort of emotions and things like that, then the students can move their avatar to the emotion. So you get a bit of an idea of how people are feeling about things. You could do it sort of for voting activities. You could arrange it for setting groups up and things like that. It's just very cute. Okay, fabulous. And of course, yes, you can all join the same person's computer screen, which is great. Okay, thank you. Let's have a look at what some of the other activities look like. So for the torch reveal, I'm actually going to set this one up so that you'll have it individually. So as an individual handout activity. So now you'll be able to see that you can move the torch around and reveal the answers. Without the need to necessarily get out of your seat or to be asking me, you know, is this right, etc. And then obviously if you don't know where you got the answer from or you don't get the same answer, then it can be checked. And I'm hoping this works for a variety of different subject areas and year groups as well. Okay, and then if I wanted to, for those of you not familiar with the Smart Learning Suite online, I'm sorry, Ben, I'm just going to pick on you. If I click on his screen, Ben, are you okay to just move the torch around for me? Fantastic. So as the teacher, I can now see what's going on his screen, but also I could make Ben a presenter, so he could then show if it was an activity where he could actually interact with it and add pen to it, he could be somebody who demonstrates, for example, which is fantastic because it means that we're giving, there you go, we're giving our students the opportunities to do exactly what we're doing now in this webinar. You know, it's a form of like, I suppose, adult communication, but in the office environment, and particularly on a global scale, this is the kind of thing that people are doing, you know, just on the day-to-day basis. So we would be giving our students those really crucial virtual or, you know, video conference communication skills. So this is something I am quite passionate about, by the way. But anyway, so that's fantastic. So getting them to be able to present and show their ideas, thank you, from their desk on their device while the rest of the class can see is really powerful. So there we are. Thank you very much, Ben. You get a sticker for that. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look just at a shout out activity on here that I want to do. In the actual presentation that I created for you on here, I have just quickly shown you step by step how to get your activities or your slides or templates from this onto Smart Learning Suite Online, just in case you weren't familiar, but it's actually, you know, quite a nice straightforward process, that one. Okay. Just before I do my shout outs, Kendall, I had another poll just to check understanding so far. Yeah. So I think poll number 2 was about locking in place, just to see if people remembered that one.
Okay, here it goes.
Thank you.
There we are.
Okay. So yeah, so I've got locking objects stops them from moving around. Is that true or false? Okay, so I've only got 61% of people voted. Is anybody having difficulty actually using the poll questions and things? Do I need to wait? Okay, it looks like it's sticking at 61% for quite some time. 100% of you so far, though, who've answered say true. Yes, it does. However, it's not the only thing that we can do. So locking objects, it does stop them from moving around if you use the locking in place option. But locking in smart allows you to be able to move things in specific directions as well. So I'm actually going to say that the answer to that one is false, but I was being maybe a little bit too vague in how I positioned that one. So let me just, as a quick reminder, with this one, I have locked it in place rather than just locking it. If I unlock, I can click to my locking section and I can allow things to move in specific ways. So for example, I can allow it, it will only move sideways at that level now. So that's more of a kind of smart notebook terminology kind of question. So yes, you can lock things and they will stay completely, say if you lock them in place, but you can also lock them so that they move in one very specific direction of your choice. Okay, so that was me being a little bit mean and sneaky with my questioning. Okay, so there we are. So let me just show you on this one then. I'm just going to ask a quick question as a student handout. So this can be done using Smart Learning Suite Online. There's the option for handouts in there. But if you're using Smart Notebook and you have an account, you can actually go to your little Smart Lab activities and create a shout it out activity here, which is this one. So each of the student devices will then be able to connect. And I can see that you're so many people are already in. So what I would like you to do is it's going to just send out an option for you to respond. How will you use what you've learned in this session? This is just me being a bit nosy, but I quite like to see what maybe what subjects, what year groups, and if there's anything that you think there's work that really does stick out in your mind, which was your favorite activity that you would like to start using with your class. I'm super keen to know. Okay, there we are. So you get the option to, I've allowed 3 responses for each of you, but I'm just curious to see in here what people will be using these activities to do. Oh, thank you, Ben. But yeah, I completely and utterly agree. The torch one, awesome. Jen, it also works really well as a magnifying glass. So you don't have to have a black background, you could have any color background you like. And then just make sure that your answers are the same color as the background and your questions are different colors. And you can use a picture of a magnifying glass, and it looks like it's revealing it, which is very clever. Just gonna go for entire page and I can see a bit more. Awesome. Yeah, the literacy elements, I totally agree. These are fantastic for that. Key terminologies, things like that, brilliant. Or even if we've got any language teachers as well. Nice. Well, thank you for sharing, folks. Hopefully, we can keep these in here and you'll be able to see what it's, yeah, exactly, doing the role. Perfect. Fabulous. Okay. Well, that's sort of me come to the end of my content. So I'm happy to obviously answer questions if anyone wants me to demonstrate any other things in response to what's been demonstrated so far. I'm happy for that. Remember, you are going to be able to get a copy of these slides as a notebook file, so you can interact with them, change them, edit them to suit your class. And of course, you can copy individual activity slides and just put them straight into your existing lessons as well. So that's all good to go. So I'm just going to hand back over to Kendall. Okay.
Yeah, sure. We did have a few people reply to your activity actually in the chat. So how will you use what you've learned in this session? Looks like someone lost their screen. So they've written here, firstly, they would use the magnifying glass and the torch strategy. Secondly, using the virtual classroom, as I haven't seen this before. And number 3, the activity where students are engaging in guessing the word. And someone, yeah, so actually I've got a few questions. Someone's commented that they like the torch one. And then Ben has actually asked, how do you do the magnifying glass?
Would people like a demonstration of the magnifying glass? Because I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, go for it. I'll push back the
I was going to say, can you give me back control?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, if there's any more questions, guys, as Lindsay's doing that, please ask away. I'll pass it over to Lindsay now.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to add a new slide here. So in order to do the magnifying glass one, I mean, obviously there's similar ways to the torch. I'll just do it with a rectangle first so that you can see. And if I make that a dark color, hopefully it'll be able to be picked up on the screen a bit clearer. There we are. So there's my rectangle so far. I'm just going to lock this in place because I don't want that to move around accidentally with the movement of my magnifying glass. And my text needs to be the same color. So you can do it like we did with the torch activity, where you have you know, the full screen, that background, and you have the question and the answer the same, like, so the answer itself would be the same color as the background. But sometimes if you need differentiation and things like that, I will do it as like half a screen, like this one, and then I might have my questions and things down the side. So obviously with maths, I would have my questions down the side, and then I might hide my answers, like to question 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put the answers on my purple box. And that way I can use the screen. And it makes things a little bit more paperless as well in these instances. So I'm going to do that one. Let me see if I've already got a clip out of a magnifying glass. I think I do. Now, with your magnifying glass, I think last time it didn't like it, so I'll just insert it properly again, rather than copying and pasting. I think my poor computer's having to do quite a bit. Here we go. Where's my magnifying glass? Here it is. Now, with magnifying glass images, you can see I've got 2. Your magnifying glass has to have an opaque center. So if you're searching on the internet for magnifying glass images, try and make sure you get one that has some color in the actual glass, because quite a lot of the images that you get on the internet, they'll have like a see-through one, so that it kind of reveals things in a different way. We don't want it to show the answer already. We want it to reveal it when the magnifying glass goes over it. If you get stuck, what you can do is create your own by grouping. So if I just use a circle, here we go, and I've got like a grey outline, that'll be pretty similar. There we go. And then I can put that there, and if I click on that one and this one and group them together, there we go, that can also work nice and clear as well. Now, the problem I've got at the moment is it's not going to reveal my answer because it's on top. So all of my answers, I would make those come to the front. So I'm going to right click and order it and bring to the front. And I'm going to put that there. I'm actually going to duplicate it so we can have a few. There we go. So there's 4 answers there now. Now, I don't want them to move accidentally either. So I'm just going to click and drag over all of those ones that I've just done. And I'm going to right click and lock them in place. There we are. So now, if I move my magnifying glass, it reveals helped. And of course, if you unlock each of these, what I'll do is, Kendall, I'll send you this version that's been edited, so you can use this in this can be sent out to people as well, okay?
Awesome. Yeah, I'll send it after the webinar.
Brilliant.
That's a cool activity. I like that. No, that's it. That's it for today. And yeah, everyone, I will send all the registrants a copy of Lindsey's slides, so you have access to all the templates. I'll send you her notebook file so you have access to all those lesson templates and the magnified lesson.
Wonderful.
That was
okay,
awesome.
Let me give you back control.
Yeah, I'll do a quick wrap up. Just bring up my presentation here. Okay, so I felt like that hour actually went really quickly. So thank you so much, Lindsey. There was great activity ideas in there, which I know teachers will love. The question time is over. So I'll go through a few housekeeping slides and then I'll close it off for the afternoon. And don't forget, when I close it off, that NESA survey will be there, but I'll quickly go through over that again. So you can get free resources on our Smart Exchange, SMEX. So that link, the link to that website is at the bottom right there, content.smarttech.com. There's loads of lessons in there. You can search by grade and by subject. So as I mentioned at the start, I'll quickly just go over this again for anyone who came in a little bit late. You can now, for those educators based in New South Wales, you can now earn 1 NESA accreditation hour for this webinar. At the end of the webinar, a survey will pop up. You just need to complete the first 3 questions. So I'll just quickly read through this slide for you. So you will need your NESA number handy. And please be aware that as a part of this course, you are required to complete the following first 2 expectations in order to be awarded the NESA hours. I did say 3 at the start. but it is 3 points of contact within the webinar. So I'll go over those expectations now. Number 1, engage meaningfully with the webinar by being an active participant. The presenter will call on you to complete one or more of the following to demonstrate your engagement: contribute to the chat, complete a poll, and complete an activity. So for instance, Lindsey did, she did 2 polls and she did 2 shout out activities. So we can see who was engaged in those, which was great. Thank you for everyone who participated. And then number 2, the expectation. Number 2, to further show that you have meaningfully engaged with the content in the webinar, you need to comprehensively complete the first 3 questions in the survey that's sent out at the completion of this webinar. The additional questions in the survey don't relate to the NESA hours. However, we would greatly appreciate it if you could fill them out so we can contribute to improve the next upcoming webinars for term 4. Thank you for your cooperation with this. So next up, if you want to earn just a general certificate of completion for this, that is still available. If you log into training.smarttech.com, then click on the Learn More in the certification box. That will bring you out to our webinar library. Just navigate to this webinar, click on the Mark Complete button, and then that'll automatically generate you a PDF certificate. So I think I did mention before in last week's webinar that there was some bugs in embedding the certificate generation into the webinars I was uploading to our website. So that is now fixed. So if you need to go back and download any certificate of completion for previous webinars, please go ahead and do so. We're up to date in there, obviously bar this one, bar this webinar, but the previous webinars are all up there from this term at the moment. So you can go on in and download all the certificates that you need for your attendance. And then this webinar will be up and running next week with this certificate access at the end. So we do have our upcoming Inspire Greatness Conference. We actually send out the save the date email this morning. So it will be on the 2nd of November. And we have got lots in store. We're in the middle of planning and building it up for everyone, for all the educators out there. We've got some amazing workshops. We've got some exciting local and some international keynotes that will be coming in via video conference. We will have the panel discussion again with the educational leaders this year. I'll just give you a little insight. We are hoping to get even parents, teachers, principals, and teachers on that panel, a representative from each of those groups to discuss, the remote learning that everybody had to go in overnight. So that panel was really well received last year. So this year, with everything going on, discussing the remote learning that everyone had to do overnight will be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that myself. And there'll be more information to come. We're planning on sending the registration email and the agendas out in the following month. So you'll see much, much more to come soon. And that brings us to the end of Term 3's Ed-to-Ed webinar series. So we will be back the 2nd week of Term 4. So now I will go to planning the next 6 webinars for next term. So stay tuned for that, and I'll launch the registration email for that week 1 of Term 4. That is for the in line with the New South Wales school holidays. So week 1 of the New South Wales Term 4. Okay, thanks a lot, everyone.